Hi, my name is Todd Leonard.
And my name is Herb Montgomery, and we're just talking.
Thanks for taking a moment to click the icon. You guys really did great this past week. Clicked a number of
Did
you
they, Todd? I
did.
didn't check. Did they?
They
Did
did.
they?
They did. It's like five or six. This was great. So thank you. I know it wasn't that great of an episode, but you were just generous with clicking the like button, and we appreciate that.
We went from 0 to 6.
I know it was it
That's
really
huge.
it did my heart good. People really care, and we appreciate that. And of course, you know about the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, you can click on that, and the bell icon will remind you with a little red dot when a new episode has, or red one, I think would be more accurate, when a new episode has dropped. So thanks for clicking on those.
So if you're new to this channel, each week Todd and I take a moment to, to discuss the upcoming weekend's lectionary readings from the Gospels. We focus just on the Gospels, and we try to talk about these passages, try to look at them through the lens of inclusion and love, compassion and social justice. And our hope is that our talking will be just talking, like the show is named, as in justice, just talking, but that also something we might say as we go back and forth would inspire you, along with us, to do more than just talking. So,
Hold
Todd,
on,
where
Herb.
are
Let me
we this
just.
week?
I want to ask. Are you saying that the title of our show has like a double meaning?
I am saying the title of our show has a double meaning. Two
That's
meanings.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
That.
when I was what do they call it? Market testing?
Uh-huh.
Like we didn't spend big bucks on market testing, but when I market tested this to just a few friends, one of them said, "Well, I hope you'll do more than just talking." So I thought, well, we better throw that in there too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's yeah. Anyway, wow, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so with that, we are in Mark chapter 10, and we're in verses 35 to 45.
I first don't want to take it for granted that we're in the Gospel of Mark. It is one of my favorites.
Hmm.
I'm thankful to be here this week. And the
Yes.
passage that we're looking at here, well, it just has a lot that I think we can unpack this evening. I have no idea how much of this we're going to talk about. I don't think we're going to hit it all, but there's just a lot here. The James and John, they come to Jesus and they ask, "What do you want me to do for you?" Which, remember that in 2 weeks we're going to come back to that question in the net in two more in two stories from now in the same chapter, Mark chapter 10. So remember that. What do you want me to do for you?
Hmm.
And they replied, "Let one of us sit on your right hand and one of us on the left hand when your kingdom is established." And Jesus responds, "You don't know what you're asking." Jesus said, "Can you drink the cup I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I'm baptized with?" Typical Christians would say, "No, you're doing that for us." But they say, "No, we can." And Jesus says, "You will drink the cup and you will be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with. But to sit at my right and left, that's not for me to grant." And then he looks at his disciples. When his disciples find out what James and John are doing kind of behind the scenes, they get upset, like any group would, right?
Right.
Like, you're vying for superiority over us. So they get upset. And Jesus has this classic statement that I absolutely love. And I don't know what to do with it. I've never found an application, I've never seen it genuinely practiced, but I just love it so much. Jesus says, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant." So there's a lot here, Todd. What do you want us to talk about first? You pick the first topic. We can talk about.
I
Yeah.
well, I mean, I think the I mean it's always I've read this story a number of times, obviously, and the cojones of James and John is always astounding, and it's like, and Jesus says to them, you don't know what you're asking, and you would think when your teacher says you really don't understand what you're asking, you think you're up to this. Oh yeah, 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 we're up to it.
Oh
Is
yeah, we can do that. We can do that. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. I think we got the gist of this thing now. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, we've been with you how long? And like you said, sometimes traditionally we understand that they were with him 3 years, but there's evidence that maybe it was
Mark's
only
is just
1 year.
one. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, yeah. We basically got the cliff notes of it. So let's yeah,
So set us up right underneath you. We got it.
yeah, we're ready to go. So that's always just it's startling, but it's um, it's so especially looking where Jesus is going to go with this. I think what you brought up in some of what you wrote. It's interesting because he could have said, this cup that I'm going to drink and what I and this baptism, and when he's not talking about, really he's not talking about baptism, he's really talking about this dying that he's about to do. He's saying, uh by doing this, I am changing things, and you are no longer going to be needing to ask for positions of authority because I'm going to level the playing field.
Mm.
Um, he he says, no. Are you willing to go into the same path with me and reject the way things are done now? Are you really ready to go down this path of rejecting everything because you're asking, and it's almost like this is to me it's like this is one of these rabbinical gotcha moments where the rabbi is totally stringing them along by saying your question is so off base by asking for the power. But I'll play along with you on this. Let's play along
Mm.
with the power question, and we'll go along, and then I'll hit you with the punchline a little bit later. So anyway, that's just some of my initial thoughts looking at it.
Yeah. So what I'll get it straight here in a second. The first thing that comes to mind is the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus says his prayer is, "Let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but you will." These are objects or elements or tokens in the Jesus story. The cross, the baptism, the cup. These are things that traditionally Christianity views and understands through a substitutionary model
Mm-hmm.
where Jesus is drinking the cup for us. Jesus is bearing the cross for us. He's baptized through this ordeal on our behalf. And here in Mark, these are not things Jesus is doing for his disciples. These are activities that Jesus is inviting them to participate with him
Yeah,
in. And that's challenging to our theology. I think of substitutionary atonement. Boy, it gets hairy if you're trying to hold on to substitutionary atonement in these passages too.
yeah,
You come up with some really theological some weird stuff. Um,
yeah,
but if it's not about that at all, Marcus Borg and John Dominic Crossan, they have this great statement in their book, The Last Week, What the Gospels Really Teach About Jesus' Final Days in Jerusalem. On this text, they write, for Mark, it is about participation with Jesus and not substitution by Jesus. Mark has those followers recognize enough of that challenge that they change the subject and avoid the issue every time.
Mm.
So the disciples, they knew exactly what Jesus is saying in the story. Come do this with
With me.
me. Yeah, join me in this revolution and renewal that's going to flip the way our communities are shaped. And even this last portion gets into that. And again, this is where I don't know what to do with it. I've never seen this practiced in Christianity, where Jesus says, those people over there, they practice hierarchical authority. People have authority, their organizational structures. Someone's at the top, people are underneath them, they have authority over them. And then he says, not so with you. Not so with you. I've never seen any Christian organization out there, and they may exist. I'm just saying, in my experience, and my experience is limited, I know, but I've never seen an egalitarian or anti hierarchy organization structure for anything Christian. So
If
I
there
don't know what to do
was,
with
it
that.
lasts for a very short period of time because I don't think that anybody knows, understand, can even comprehend for long how does it actually work. I mean even people who are not necessarily Christian who have tried to do communes is
It
trying
doesn't
to
last
create.
long
We don't understand how to function without somebody at the top,
at the
somebody
top.
in the middle, and somebody at the bottom. We don't understand.
And yet Jesus is trying to, instead of, like I said in my book, instead of creating pyramids, Jesus is trying to create a shared table
Yeah,
here where everybody's sitting around the table, kind of like that King Arthur legend of the round table,
yeah,
right? Where there's no
yeah,
head. I mean, but again, I've never seen it. I'm all for it. Like, I don't want to
yeah.
argue against it. I'm all for
No,
it in theory, but I've never seen an example of it. And I sure as snot can't tell you how it works.
I, well done. I appreciate.
That was my filter.
I almost feel like just saying hell would have been less gross than saying sure it's not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But
Next time.
but thank you. But thank you for
I
that
don't believe in
effort.
hell, so I can't. It won't
Well,
matter.
that's true. Yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't.
Well, okay. And we all know snot is real.
Sure as hell. I can't say that. I'm not
That's
sure
true.
about hell.
That's you make a fair point. You're so
But
literal, Herb. How are you
no,
so literal on some things, and then with the Bible, you're like,
I just got over COVID. I know snot exists.
yes, you do. You do. There's some things you can put your faith in. Um, oh, and so now, and I've lost my point with all that.
I'm so
Um,
sorry.
I know. Um, what were you so sure of snot about?
Oh, how it works.
Oh, right. So, yeah, and so I think like maybe many of these things that Jesus teaches it is the thing we are always working towards,
Mm.
and it is he is putting something out there for us that says we this we must move away from how we're doing it. And even though we may still continue to have vestiges of the old way, we must be continuing to put on a different way of doing things and finding ways to be more egalitarian. So, all right, so maybe we still have a little bit of a hierarchy, but at least scattered throughout the hierarchy are people of diverse backgrounds and races and orientations. That at least
So we just add
it's not
diversity to the
so
authority structure.
that it's better than it's all white straight guys. It's
Oh,
at least
totally.
so at least we've
Totally.
moved to that. And then now could we do it in a way where we flatten it, we remove one level of the hierarchy and we've moved it down to just 3 instead of 4. Okay, so we're moving, and the people at the lowest level have like we now give them like ownership of the organization, so they have like voting in the actual fundamental, that at the like the annual shareholders meeting, they're actually voting members of ultimately what the organization does or something. It's something where you're moving
What
in the
you're
right direction.
describing is not American. I want to
No,
say this first of all, but it is genuine democracy.
right. So trying to move in that, and I think,
So
and
Jesus says the kingdom was a democracy.
no, and that's true,
No,
and that's,
I would like that.
I
I'm
would
a
too. I think
fan
it
of
would be I think
democracy.
it would be so much better. Um, I just think if we were just driven by the ethic of trying, even if we were, say, and forgive me, and
No, no, no. Go ahead.
this is just going to kill you for me to even say this,
It's okay.
but understand, I'm talking in some ways I'm talking hypothetically, is to say we are, I'm sorry, we must for the rest of our existence work within the capitalist system. Um, so how can we create a more just, equitable capitalism? And
Sure.
how can we
If
follow
that's the only
Jesus?
advancement we can make, then
If
let's at least make an advancement.
what can we do with that?
Yeah.
And and I don't know what I was thinking the other, I do know what I was thinking, and I'll probably share more about this next week. But thinking about organizations, so many of like our tech firms in our country and our IT, information systems companies, they talk such a good game about creating a better world, and that they're all about changing dynamics, and that they live at a higher ethic, and want to take the world to better places, better environmentalism and everything like that. And yet so often at the same time, I know with our cell phone companies and our computer chip manufacturers and stuff, even though they may be reducing their carbon footprint in the United States, they're getting their materials in very unjust ways from other parts of the world where we don't see it because we're not.
Exploiting
And
indigenous
so they're
populations.
exploiting indigenous populations. So to say, okay, you know what? Can you make the work environment better for your people who are making you guys wealthy, so you can say all these highfalutin things to those of us in the West? Can you actually go that distance and make it better for them? That wouldn't be flattening the hierarchy, but that sure would be a step in the direction of
Sure.
Jesus.
Sure. I'm okay with incremental. It's just a high bar that's set here that,
Oh, this is so high.
and I do want to say too, because Jesus says at the end of this, he who wants to be the greatest should actually be going towards being the servant. Um, this has traditionally been used in Christianity historically to justify slavery or to make slaves content or
Mm,
servants content with their servitude, as if there's something holy about being a servant. And I just want to be clear here, Jesus is not aiming this rhetoric toward people who are servants or slaves to try to create passive acceptance of their social status.
right.
He's aiming it at those who are endeavoring or aspiring to gain greater privilege and power and authority over others. And I think that matters, where this statement can be life giving or death dealing depends on who the target audience
Yes.
is. Who are you speaking to? Are you
Yes.
speaking to those that are wanting to sit on the left and the right and be over others?
Right.
Well, then they need to learn the lessons of being
Yes.
of service and
Yes.
taking care of your fellow human being. Where is the Christian pastor using this text to lift up servanthood in an endeavor to help those who are already on the lowest ends of
Right.
the spectrum. You know what I mean?
To
Just be
be
feel
pacified.
yeah, feel better about their status in life.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful there. Um
I think we need to be
Also,
careful too. There's so often our Christian mission trips, people go over to third world countries and talk about, and they, this isn't a word, graphicize the happy poor people, and talk about how we need to learn how to be happy like the poor people in the third world countries. And so we're going to use
that always makes
their
me angry.
happiness to teach us more about our spirituality. But darn it, we sure aren't going to give up our wealth to learn how to be really
Right.
like third world people. So, yeah,
It's that whole blessed are the poor adage, using it that
let's
way.
yeah, let's get past that, and let's say uh, there's something much deeper that we need to learn about when you see poverty in the third world, what we should be thinking about, and that's about creating less poverty.
Yeah, but Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor." He was talking about something radically different than that.
That's right. He was announcing the end of poverty was what he was doing.
That's right.
He was not saying blessed that you get to continue to stay in this. He was saying your
If you're poor,
deliverance
the
is
first are
coming.
last and last are first. That's good news to everyone right now that's last.
That's right. That's right.
It's at least problematic to those that see themselves as first.
Yes.
Which is, again, these were people that were striving to be first, and Jesus was saying, I don't think so.
Right. Right.
That's different than helping people feel good about them being last and leaving it the status quo the way it is.
That's right.
So I want to come back to this cup and this baptism, and the chapter previously, Jesus invited them to take up his cross with them, whether it's a cup, baptism, or cross. I want to be very clear too that I don't think that Jesus here is recommending that we join a death cult, or that we glorify his death the way that Christianity in
Mm-hmm.
certain sectors have. I think what's happening is Jesus is speaking out for love and justice.
Mm.
He's leading a renewal and restoration and liberation movement among his people, getting back to the justice teachings of the prophets and of the elements of the Torah that taught that. And the changes that he was calling for it threatened those who were being benefited by the injustice of his day. And they threatened him with a cross if he didn't sit down and shut up,
Right.
if he didn't become silent.
Right.
That's what the cross is. The cross is the threat by the powers that be that they use to try to get us to be quiet. And what Jesus is really saying is, don't let go of your hold on life. Don't let go of
Yeah.
your hold on justice. Don't let go of your hold on what's right.
Yeah.
Keep speaking out. And if that causes a cross, keep speaking out. If that causes you to have a cup that you must drink, keep speaking out. If that causes you to enter into the fires of baptism rather than the waters of baptism, keep speaking out. At the end of the
Mm.
day, don't let the death dealers cause you to let go of your hold on
Yeah.
life.
Silence you, stop you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take away your quest for life, your zest for bringing this kingdom, this.
Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem. He's headed there to flip the tables. He
Yeah.
knows he's going to engage in protest at the heart of the temple state.
Yeah.
And he's asking them to join him in this. He knows what's going to happen when he does this,
Yeah.
what the pushback is going to be. And so anyway, I think that's That inspires gets into the heart of why I still value Jesus, even after all the change and growth and evolution and deconstruction and whatever term you want to use. The reason the Jesus of the story is still valuable to me is because of the courage that he models here on behalf of justice, on behalf of what is right. He
Mm,
looks at the harm that's being done to human beings and he says, I have to do something here. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's going to cost me, we are one of the few religions on the planet. We may be the only one, but we're at least one of the few that the central figure of our religion was executed by the status quo, by
mm,
the oppressive powers, right? Where
mm,
Christianity today has become complicit in that.
mm,
In the Jesus story, the central figure of our worship, of our religion, was crucified by that. And here
yeah,
we are. And I mean, I know we're less than 30 days away, but here we are still pandering like James and John,
yeah,
wanting some type of we want to sit at the, can we elect someone that's going to allow us to sit at the left or the
mm,
right so that we can exact our dogma
mm,
on the populace, on the masses, whether it be
mm,
women's rights, whether it be, LGBTQ,
yeah,
whether it be, whatever the hot button issues are in the culture wars for Christians today. First of all, most of the time, the I know there are exceptions to this, but there are large swaths of Christianity that are just on the wrong side of history right now. And they're trying to elect someone who will let them sit, like James and John, on the
mm,
left and the right, so that they can have that power to enact, enact. What word am I looking for there? Force
mm,
their
mm,
beliefs, their definition of morality,
mm,
their definition of what's right and wrong on others. And
mm,
this is a rebuke to that whole thing right now.
right,
We should
yeah,
be changing the world by serving the world's needs. And you
right,
can't serve the world's needs without going out there and entering into relationship with the marginalized, the oppressed, and those on the edges to find
mm,
out who's being harmed to enter
yeah,
into service.
yeah.
Anyway, I got on a soapbox there for a minute, Todd. I didn't mean to ramble. Sorry. I feel like I took up too much mic time, but it just kept vomiting out.
It's
Snot and vomit. How's that for tonight?
it's all getting very real. It's
Home run. Tonight's a great episode.
we're we're 2 weeks from the election, so
Are
it's
we
just
2 weeks?
maybe three, but it's not far. It might be three, three from yesterday, 3 weeks from yesterday. Um, so
3, yeah, 3 weeks.
so anyway, yeah. So much, so much left to learn from this in regards to how we're running things in this country. Um, and man, again,
There's so
yeah,
much to chew on.
as and to go back to the incremental thing, yes, I think you and I would agree there of the two choices, there is somebody who is would be a significant incremental step better than the other.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, we're both are still a long ways from where this ideal lands, and there is so much work left for all of us who care about the justice of God in this world to be done. That who no matter who wins the election next month, we've got tons of work to do to stick up
I
for
will say,
people.
yes. I will say two things that your comments remind me of. Number one, the perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yes.
We're never going to have perfect.
No.
What's going to aid you in your work? And that's the second thing. Out of the two, I will say that there is one would make our ongoing work that we have to do, it would advance that work
Right.
rather than obstruct it.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
something to take seriously.
Absolutely. And you and I are not one of those people who say that we should stay out of politics. We believe very much
Dude,
in
I am reading a book right now. I have to bring this up. You just hit the hot button. You know, if we were playing bingo tonight, Todd said politics. Um, but it's Richard Horsley's book. Oh, dude. And I've been a fan of Richard Horsley for a long time, but this is his book, Jesus and the Politics of Roman Palestine. And he does a killer job at showing how political, if you understand the politics of Palestine as the backdrop upon which Jesus' ministry took place,
hmm,
Jesus was anything but everything. Jesus was political.
right.
Everything he said was political.
Yeah.
So anyway,
No,
anyway,
that's the huge misconception about
he's not a
Jesus.
religious guru.
Yeah.
Religion and politics and economics, they were all intertwined back then.
And and since you talked about snot and vomit, the thing that makes me gag is when I see people hanging flags saying that Jesus 2024,
Right.
acting like they're above it all.
Yeah.
And
Dude, get dirty and change the world.
yeah, no, that's
Get some
exactly
dirt
right.
on your shirt and change the world.
That's exactly right. Go flip some tables.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Don't try to stay above it all to
yeah,
protect your purity.
yeah,
Think about the people that are going to be harmed if you don't engage.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, when you and I are talking about politics, we're talking about
How
messing
resources are
messing up the
shared.
power system so that people who don't have can get what they need in order to have
That's right.
a healthy, happy life. We're
We're
not
talking
talking
about making the
we're
world a
not talking
just, safe,
about putting
compassionate
money
home.
in we're not talking about putting money in lobbyist pockets. We're not talking about
Right.
um, we're not talking about running for some political party and getting in the favor of one party or the other. We're talking about fighting for rights, and that means local, state, national, whatever it takes. So,
That's
anyway,
right. It's
with
about
all that
people.
said, anything else? Is there anything else on the bingo card we need to cover tonight, Herb?
There's just so much here. I'm sure there's stuff that we could talk about, but I think we've covered enough for now. This passage is just so loaded. It's just so loaded.
Mm.
But yeah, anyway. Yeah, that's enough for tonight.
Okay.
I knew we wouldn't get to it all, and that's okay.
Okay.
There's so much to chew on right now.
The good news with the lectionary is we will come around to it again.
That's right. 3 years from now, we'll be right back here in Mark 10.
Absolutely.
Get a second swing.
That's right. So, what would
Okay,
you
so
like to
let me
tell
give
us?
a little teaser. Let me give a little teaser about 2 weeks from now.
Please.
That question, what do you want me to do for you, is going to come up in just a few more verses again. But this time he asks it to Bartimaeus.
Mm.
And the response between Bartimaeus contrasted with the response of James and John
Mm-hmm.
is profound. So tune back in next week and the week after, but the week after is when we're going to be hitting that.
Mm. Very good. All right. So, what's the latest with the Renewed Heart Ministries?
Oh, just check out renewedheartministries.com. All the resources there are free. You could spend hours on their website. Everything there is the goal. Well, not goal, because that sounds different than what it is. Our passion at Renewed Heart Ministries is to help people find the intersection of between their faith and social justice activism.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a nonprofit, but there's tons of resources there on our website. You can go there and check it out. You can find podcasts, you can find articles, you can find YouTube shows, you can find blogs, there's all kinds of stuff there. There's so many resources there, books. reading lists. There's just a ton. You spend hours, and it's all for free. If you would like to support us, and let me just say thank you to all those out there that are supporting Renewed Heart Ministries so that it can remain free. Um, thank you. We couldn't do what we do without you. And if there's any out there that would like to join them in supporting Renewed Heart Ministries work, there is a little donate button there on renewedheartministries.com as well. You can find my new book on Amazon, Finding Jesus. A fundamentalist preacher discovers the social, political, and economic teachings of the Gospels. It's on Amazon and paperback and Kindle, and also on Audible in an audiobook format. And then, yeah, this show, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the subscribe and the notification buttons so that you can keep in touch with what we're doing here every week. Todd, what about you? Anything?
I got nothing, man.
All right.
Just want to say that we sure appreciate you guys. You are the best. Sure as not.
I'm going to regret that phrase.
We hope you guys have a great week.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
We'll see you soon.